Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back with Sam and George to reflect on a very successful evening against Sheffield United. Obviously, a five-star performance, Sheffield United nil, Aston Villa 5. And it got us back to winning ways after, I guess, not a troubling period, but I guess uh, an up and down period over the last few weeks. But we're going to get into the game. We're going to get into what potentially does that mean moving forwards for the rest of the season. And it's great to have the lads on, Sam and George, to chat all things Villa. Sam, come to you first, mate. It's been a while. How are you doing? How are you doing, my friend?
Yeah, it's been all right. I've been doing all right. I've been keeping my head down so I don't overreact in public to our what did you call it? Dip in form, a troubling period.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, something like that.
Well,
No,
as
but
my rant on Wednesday night, which I might come to.
Yeah, couple of
Sorry,
couple of
Wednesday
drama queens you
morning.
are.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. On Wednesday morning, I wasn't happy. It's a good job I didn't do it on Tuesday night because
you'd have been
it would have
fuming.
been worse. Yeah, yeah. However, a lot of the comments were very positive about what I had to say. George, good to see you, mate. Always the man of reason, the voice of reason. How are you doing
I need
after
to be
last
with you
night's
two, don't
result?
I?
We're gonna talk it all. We're gonna get into it, mate. We're gonna get into it.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, nice to see you, lads. Yeah, I'm doing well, mate. I'm happy. It's all good again in the garden, isn't it? After a good win last night.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see. You've got to be happy at a 5-0. It doesn't matter who it's against. You've got to be happy. But
Should have
but
been six,
yeah,
mate.
one was it one swallow does not make a summer or something? Is that the saying?
Yeah.
We'll get into it. We'll get into it.
It's a family show, Rich.
Michael's in the house. Good evening, mate. Lewis is here. He hopes that you're on, Sam. So I guess that'll be Ollie Watkins' chat for today. Rachel's in the house as well. Good evening. Mark's in as well. Black Room getting up the Villa. Gary said, "Hope you're all well. Think we needed that Newcastle result to play like that yesterday." Rod said, "Evening, lovely day. Hopefully we just got over our wobble." Who else have we got? Paul Merson Villa legend. I don't know if I can't see Mark Huggins is. Michael Huggins. Let's not put Villa and title in the same sentence. Well, look, let's see.
Have a day
Um,
off, Rich.
yeah, Rod says true. Seconds Champions League win or bust. Charlie S says up the Villa. PJ is in the house as well. And Gary said, let's forget about the title rubbish. Let's win a cup. Lewis said, no bullying tonight, but such a great performance yesterday. Hopefully it kickstarts us after the blip over Christmas. Yeah, I mean, obviously, look, we can't get away from it. Let's talk. We'll go through the game. We'll talk some of the goals as well. We'll talk some performances, and then we'll get into like the general, I guess, not getting carried away kind of chat. But Sam, first of all, a 5-0 victory, as I just said, against anybody, and 5 different scorers is fantastic.
Yeah, of course. I mean, so look, it was I just turned to Steven Gerrard there. Yeah, of course. Um, yeah, I mean, obviously it was away. Look, it's at bottom of the league, Sheffield United. They were sat on 10 points, but they showed when they came to Villa Park how difficult they could make it for us. And although it was a game where you kind of expect to win, I didn't expect us to do so much damage to them so early on. Like that first half was. Do you know what it was? It was clinical, and we were really clinical in that first half, and we were adventurous, and we played good stuff. A lot of the things that have been missing over the last, I'd say, month or so, you saw in the first half of that game, which is obviously, you know what I said to you boys in the chat as well. I actually missed the first half because I was my mum was around. I was cooking, so I actually didn't see the first half, and maybe that's been our problem. Maybe I'm watching too many games.
You're the bad luck charm.
I'm the bad luck charm,
You.
but I got to the second half. I'm sure we'll get into it, and it was far less exciting for Villa. But no, look, great result. Obviously, talk of the weekend, and loads of really good individual performances as well. So yeah, loads of positives to take from it.
Yeah, 100%. And George, before we get into like each individual goal, starting lineup came out, and Carlos is back in at the back. Conte shifts to right back. It does seem to be that more solid foundation to base the performances from, and obviously then Leon Bailey coming back in for Musa Diaby is that kind of, obviously Pau Torres not in, but is that leaning towards our strongest lineup that started the game yesterday?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, away from home, we've pretty much done that all season, haven't we? With Konza playing at right back instead of Cash. It would be interesting. I'd like to see the stats. How many games we've won playing with a right back or not playing with a right back. I'd say it's got to be. Don't know. I reckon the three centre backs we probably won more games that way. But yeah, Bailey coming in was an absolute no brainer. I mean, we saw what he done to Newcastle in like 20 minutes in the week. We were all scratching our heads that he didn't start that game anyway. So yeah, that was looking much more like probably our strongest lineup yesterday.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, Sam, you've kind of talked about Matty Cash and I guess his wholehearted nature, but not necessarily having the quality. But it does seem that Conte just tends to just give Bailey the room to operate, whereas with Cash, it's either he's not giving him enough space to operate, or he's not actually overlapping like properly like a fullback does. He's kind of doing half and half, whereas Conte just says, right, I'm a defensive fullback in this position. I'll just give you the license to run, Bailey, and it seems to work.
Yeah, I mean, Cash is just not good enough at this level. When I say this level, I'm not talking Premier League. I'm sure he could do a job somewhere, but for what we're going for, he's just shown time and time again, consistently over a number of seasons, that he's not quite up to level. I mean, George called it, playing three centre backs. We were playing a centre back at right back. It's not like we were playing a three at the back and then like a wing back as part of a five. We were playing Conte out of position because Matty Cash isn't good enough.
But he does
Um,
do this, Sam. He's done this before, Emery. Before he come to Villa, he did exactly the same. So I
well,
think there is
he put
a
one
reason
fourth.
behind it.
He put one fourth at right back, but one fourth actually was a right back before he became a centre back. So,
Okay.
I mean, it's yeah. I think it's quite telling that Cash is fit and he's not starting. And I think that's quite telling that he brought Kessler Hayden back as well. He recalled him from Plymouth, and obviously the guys at Plymouth, the management there said they were surprised that he was recalled at all, and not only that, that they were told he was actually going to come back and challenge for the first team. So yeah, I mean we've seen it a lot from Cash. Like everyone's always said, he's quite good at going forward, but defensively he's a bit lax. I think it's a bit of both now. I don't think he's a massive threat going forward. And I don't think he's great at defending. So at some point you have to question what he offers. But it's not through a lack of trying. Obviously, we all like Matty Cash. He's got one of the better songs going at the Villa. So it would be lovely for him to sort of be performing well. But hey, I mean, and that's one of the benefits of Ezri Konsa. He gives you that versatility and he gives you an option at right back, and we looked more solid for it.
I mean, obviously opposition team taken into account, but it does seem like having that more solidity, whether it's Carlos, whether it's Conte, but I'd back it. There's more to do with Conte at the moment. Gives that midfield a little bit more security to roam forward, to be a little bit more free, and then obviously get Bailey coming in and just giving that pace and attacking thrust. I mean, just what you said before, Sam, about just being clinical. I mean, the first two goals, the passes through from Luiz, just a brilliant pass for the first goal. Obviously, Watkins is a little bit unlucky, hits the post, and then really good reaction from McGinn following it in. And then obviously the pass for the second goal, just a wonderful pass into Watkins' path, and he puts it away. But yeah, just being able to have the freedom and the vision to play those passes is just incredible. And obviously the two players finish it off, but yeah, clinical in its definition.
Mm. Yeah, and I think just one more thing with Conser as well, and the difference between him and Cash is he's far more calm on the ball. He's just so collected, and I think he drives better with the ball at his feet than Cash does as well. Because maybe it's because Cash just hugs so tight to the line that he never really gives himself much place to go. He's not facing in; he's always sort of facing out. So, um, but yeah, I'm sure we'll get on to Dougie Luiz and his wonder pass. And it really was something to talk about. But yeah, I think, like you say, solid base, and um, I will get into it, I'm sure, but I don't think you can detract from just how important Bailey is to the way Villa are playing at the moment, and the difference that was made when he came off and DRB came on. It's like all the
Mm.
impetus went out of the game. So Leon Bailey right now, I know he got a beautiful goal, and we all know it as a fan base how important he is at the moment. But yesterday was a lot of Leon Bailey, and I'm a big fan of him at the moment.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. We'll talk. Like I say, I think we'll save Louise for a little bit of a section by himself. But yeah, I know obviously 2-0 up within the space of what was it, 4 minutes, like the 12th minute, the 16th minute, pretty much game over at that point. And then it's weird, isn't it, George, that Leon Bailey is now, the most important attacking player, arguably, that Villa have. Not just because of the goals and the assists that he gets, not just because of the pace and the skill that he's got, but because of the way that he now occupies 2 or 3 defenders every time he could get the ball, which then obviously gives other players time and space. And it's just crazy to be almost. I mean, it's a credit to him, but it's just mad that we're thinking about, or that we talk about Bailey being so important and probably up there with the best attackers in the Premier League at the moment.
Yeah, it's madness. I mean, God, in the summer just gone, we were pretty much writing him off, weren't we? We were sort of saying, it's probably time he packed his bags and went. He was going to write him off as a bad signing. But fair play to him, man. He's knuckled down, got his head down, and he's just, he's earned his place back, hasn't he? And he's just become. He's obviously had a confidence boost from somewhere. Ironically, it felt like the RB coming was what got him. They struck up a nice relationship from the start, and now, funnily enough, it's all sort of gone perfectly for Bailey, and it's the RB that's dipped. But yeah, he's scoring, he's assisting, he's taking players on. He just, he looks like a really exciting player. We've spent a lot of money on him, and he's now justifying his price tag. And I hear there's a new contract in the offing. That's the rumor on Twitter.
Yeah,
So
could be announced
that's
tomorrow. Yeah.
about time as well, because his contract was running down, and the longer you leave it, the more powers with the agent, and clubs will be sniffing around. So yeah, I'd say we get that one done quickly as possible, and see where the season could go. I mean, what's he on now? He's got to be on 8-9 goals already this season, isn't he?
I think in all competitions, yeah, and it's something like 6 or 7 assists as well. I mean, we'll
Yeah,
talk about
man.
the assist thing in a bit because I'm always a bit dubious of this assist business. I don't understand why people care so much about them. Obviously, if it's a pass like Douglas Luiz's, then brilliant. But Watkins getting an assist for Leon Bailey scoring is just
That's that. Do you know what, Rich? I'm a billion% with you, and he's had about 4 of them this
he
season.
literally
It's
just passes him the ball and Bailey runs from like just inside his own half and kills it in the top corner. Like you can't claim that. Anyway, we'll get into that in a bit. But this is about Leon Bailey. But yeah, so I mean, yeah, like you say, Judge, it's just mad and like great that we kind of hopefully time down to a new contract. But Sam, I mean, I know we joke about it, but this low socks Leon Bailey is just a different level. Like, I mean, just thinking about when he came on against Newcastle, just if he'd have maybe come, whether he had a slight back injury or not, I think that's maybe Emery covering himself a little bit, but just we could have got back in that game just on the pure impact of him coming on, and then every time that he plays, he's causing problems. It's literally what you pay money to see, Leon Bailey at the moment.
He's been brilliant, and he's been brilliant all season as well. He is he's doing like really exciting things whenever he gets the ball. Like he very rarely now like gets the ball and it's like, oh, a fluff. Like he either does someone in, or he passes it back. But I think the problem is with Leon Bailey last season, we saw him like take a man on and it was fine. And we always used to joke that he'd turn around and try and take him on again.
Yes.
But he's so direct now. He's so concerned with end product and making something happen. And I went to the Chelsea game with George and he came on in the 90th minute and there was 3 minutes of added time. How different we looked as a team in those 3 minutes. It was absolutely mental. And it's like, I think Leon Bailey is the most important attacking player that we have in the team because we've seen Villa without Leon Bailey, um, and with Diaby starting and in, and we look lackluster. We look like we don't have much going on. There's no outlet. There's no creativity in the forward line. We don't really look like scoring. You put him in there, then all of a sudden, you know, he makes. Uh, I'll give you an example. When Diaby came on for for Bailey against Sheffield United, the last 30 minutes, I don't really remember Watkins touching the ball or doing much with it. Like it was just little bits and bobs here and there. But look how good Watkins looked for that first hour. And
Yeah,
I think
he
a
was on.
lot of that
Yeah,
comes down to the impact that Bailey has. And I think right now he's definitely got to be one of the best wingers in the Prem. And I think you have to give him a new deal because even if he decides to go or if someone comes in for him, it's going to take a lot of money to take this Leon Bailey away. Just hope that he can keep it up till the end of the season. And I don't buy the back injury thing, if I'm being honest, because the day before in the press conference, Unai Emery could have very easily said, "Yeah, Leon Bailey's got a bit of a back thing. We're just keeping an eye on him. We'll see." He mentioned all the other ones, but he never
that's why
mentioned
me both said,
Bailey.
didn't we? But yeah,
Yeah. So, but
yeah,
he's brilliant. He's absolutely fantastic to watch, and he's really really exciting. I think all Villa fans at the moment are just so keen to see what he does, and I hope he just continues to start. I mean, I know that Diaby's a massive signing, 52 million, whatever it was, and I know Unai Emery came out in defence of Diaby earlier this week and said he's still trying to get to grips with it. And I believe it as well. I'm not writing Diaby off as a player at all, but where we are in the season now, I would rather focus on winning games than I would about developing Diaby right now. Play him in the cup games, play him in the Conference League, or in the FA Cup game. Absolutely fine with that. But the league, just
you
keep
gotta
Bailey on
go
the pitch,
big.
please.
Yeah,
You can't go with
yeah,
Bailey.
yeah, yeah. Rod says, I've got loads of comments, guys. Thank you so much for the comments. We've got over 70 watching. Please do smash the like button. Get involved in the comments. I'll try and read as many as I can out. And do subscribe if you're new to the channel. We've just passed 3,300, so thank you so much for that. We're hoping to keep growing. We want to get to 4K as soon as possible. So keep liking, keep subscribing, and get involved in the chat. Rod says, I have faith Diaby will come back into form. Not so sure Cash is in Unai's long-term plans, but hopefully it's just form for Cash as well. Weston says Diaby's form is mirroring Bailey's of last season. Like it could well be true, and hopefully, as we've both said, that he can start producing. Paul says, hi Rich and George and Sam, how are you? We're only 5 off top Liverpool list to Arsenal. Let's just keep winning games. Let's just keep winning games. We've just beaten Sheffield United. That's it. We've got Man United on the weekend. They could go 5 points behind us if they beat us. Michael said Bailey's been a breath of fresh air. He really appreciates his time on the pitch, whether it's 30 minutes or 90. I think that's a really good trait that he's
Yeah.
got as well. He wants to make an impact. Gary said he's the best winger in the Prem at the minute, except Mudryk. Deontay, happy Sunday. Yeah, absolutely. It is a very happy Sunday. Rod says, was it my imagination or did we attack down the right primarily yesterday? Kind of like the reverse of how we usually play. Again, it's just the space, and I think you mentioned it. Watkins and Bailey seem to have that link together really, really well. So that's really good.
Well, the threat is
Rod,
on that side as well, isn't it? That's where the threat
exactly.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Rod with a $10 super chat. Thank you so much, mate. Up the Villa. Thanks for the forum as always. Good crowd. Absolutely. That's what it's all about. You like getting involved in the chat. Weston said it's taken Bailey a couple of seasons to get to these levels. Have faith in Diaby. Yeah, we've got faith in him, but I do think it's fair criticism. It's absolutely fair to criticize,
Do you
especially
know
when you
what?
pay that much.
Do you know what I would say though on Diaby? I don't actually like. Obviously, there's an issue with Diaby because it's not just end product for him. I think like his first touch is gone. He looks a bit lost. He's constantly playing the ball backwards. I think the confidence has gone out of him.
Yeah.
But I think the reason that that's happened to him is because he's playing out of position. He's playing as
Yes.
a second striker, and it's just and when Bailey plays, Bailey's not playing there. Bailey plays as a winger, as an out and out winger, and he's he stays far on the right. I think Diaby's been asked to do a job that he's A, unfamiliar with, and B, maybe not very good at, and I think that's sapped his confidence. So I think you need to get him back into his natural position. But then you also need the confidence, because if he can't, if his first touch is gone and his confidence is gone and he's afraid to attack at players, go forward, he's always passing the ball back. It's quite frustrating, actually. I think that's part. I think not Unai needs to take some blame for that, but I think there is a responsibility, because when he first came in, Diaby was shit hot, and he's not had like a massive injury or anything to like change his capability to play the game. I think his confidence has been sapped because he's doing a job that Unai is asking him to do, and that he's maybe not best suited for. Not saying I know more than him, but
No, I do take your point in that, but it doesn't stop you from running and putting tackles in and challenging and all
do you
that
think it's
kind
a
of
lack of
stuff.
effort for him? Because I feel like he
At
looks quite
times,
lightweight. I think he
you
looks
know.
lightweight. Like he gets pushed off. He does go for the ball, but he never wins it because he's
Mm.
he gets pushed off the ball really easy. DRB.
Well, that can affect your confidence as well. The fact that you're physically maybe struggling a little bit, and like you said, sometimes if he's in the thick of it, where he's in that central area where he's getting outnumbered, then I can understand it. And I did feel a bit sorry for him against Newcastle when Martinez is playing long balls to him, and he's trying to win a header against
Oh,
Dan Burn.
they kept doing that cash against Dan Burn. I was losing it in the chat.
So I can understand it from that perspective. But yeah, like
That's
I say,
interesting
I
you
don't.
say that. I've never really thought like watched DRB and said, look, he's not putting in a shift here. So it's quite
Mm,
interesting you say that. I've never thought
Yeah,
he's got a lack of effort.
I just think like if you're in those ruts, the way to get out of it is to work, 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 and work. And sometimes I think players will give up a little bit too easily, and then we can make the excuse from, oh well, they're playing out of position, meh, 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 meh. It's like, get on
You're
with
turning
it,
into Rihanna there,
get
Rich.
get on with it. I don't have a lot of sympathy for them at times
This is
like that.
no nonsense Rich at the moment. He's not
Yeah,
taking any
yeah.
prisoners. Normally
Um,
it's me. I'm the one who's
yeah.
got no sympathy or sitting there backing it.
Gary said, I think my rant must have worked. Yeah, they were definitely listening. They were definitely listening. Adamski, I was thinking about this. On the left, we need to see it because he does cut in on that right and he does pass it back a lot. And I wonder if playing him down the left might help him. Obviously, that would affect Moreno. What do you think, George, on that?
Yeah, I must admit, I kind of wondered that myself. Why they've not tried that? It's I don't know. Well, I suppose would Moreno and if they were both down the left, would they like get in each other's way and that with the same runs and stuff? But yeah, we only ever seem to attack down one side, don't we? So, but I think given on any time and day, you could try it. Why not? In a cup game or whatever, just give it a go. Another system.
Yeah, yeah. We'll see. We'll see.
Because there's got to be pressure on Emery, hasn't there, to make this one work? Because that's a lot of money we've spent on DRB for it to not really work out.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, I think it was AVFC Stato put out there that we scored something like 71 goals in all competitions, and he still had a decent kind of return in terms of goals and assists across all competitions. It's just, I guess, our expectation, the way he came in, and then I guess what he's kind of doing now, and almost Leon Bailey and the way that he's playing and producing is almost put into the detriment of Moussa Diaby because we're expecting, well, hang on a minute, he should be the better player, and we know it doesn't happen like that. But as I say, I'm sure it will come right for him. But it's just, I just think at times you've just got to work and work and work your ass off to get yourself out of that rut. And sometimes you need just a goal to go in, like a lucky deflection or something. But just do what you're good at. Like just go back to the basics of what you're good at, and what he's good at is kind of taking that touch, beating that man, and hitting it early, and that's what he was doing when he first came in. Just go back to doing that. There's nothing bad
You
about
can't.
doing that. If you blast it over the bar, at least you're trying to have a go. But don't just pass it backwards and pass the buck, or hide away from doing what you should be doing.
I don't know. I don't know how much of that is him though, and how much is that his instructions to like not
Yeah,
try to take a
maybe.
man on, and the passing back seems to be a theme sort of throughout the team a little bit. It's quite frustrating. But Bailey does.
Why didn't he shoot though in the week, son? That chance against Newcastle,
Yeah,
and he
yeah.
decided to try and set up the perfect goal rather than just hit it.
I think, but that's where I talk about the confidence, and I'm like, confidence has been clearly hit. Like we saw him against Chelsea and Newcastle, and he just couldn't get the ball under his feet. Like his first touch was shocking,
Mm.
and we know that that's not DRB. We know that's not the player he is because you've got to think about this guy as well. He's done it at he's been at PSG, he's been at Leverkusen, he's played at a high level. Like
French international.
with all due respect, French international, he's not going to be put off by the lights at Sheffield United. Like, let's be honest, he'll probably be fine, but I think it's just he's in his own head, and I'm not sure he's 100%. He maybe he's fighting his natural instincts with what to do with the ball. Maybe he's not like looking to take it and on the turn and then go. He's been told to do something else, and I feel like the reason that Unai's sort of backing him so much is because he's doing what Unai Emery tells him to do. And when Unai says, "Oh, he's trying to learn the system, he's trying to learn how we play," I think that's part of it. But I just think it's a waste. It's a waste to have a player that electric with that much speed and ability and skill and ability to take on a man and to get him to receive the ball as a second striker and like try and thread the ball through to Ollie Watkins. Like it's not his forte. It's like it's not what you bought. Maybe it is what they bought him for, but from a fan's opinion, I feel like it's a waste. I wouldn't play
Mm.
him there on FIFA. That's what I'm saying.
CC, voice of reason, another one. Let's give DRB time. He needs a full season. It's virtually the same path as Bailey. I think we underestimate how relentless and difficult the Prem can be. Add in learning Emery ball and out of position.
Can I ask
Yeah,
a question on that? Let me ask a question on that. So why is it some players when they're crap they need a season to get used to the Premier League, and other players who come in like Pau Torres and just absolutely he took 4 or 5 games to get up to speed and start making like a proper impact. Like why is there a different standard for different players? Is it
it's weird, and it's a position. I think sometimes it's the position that they play. Sometimes it's, I
I,
guess, their character. Um,
I'm not
yeah,
saying write him off, but he's got to be disappointed, and we'll be disappointed with his season this season. We won't say, oh, it's a betting instinct. He's not 19 years old. Like he's mid-20s. He's
I,
like a France
that's what I mean.
international.
That's why. Yeah, that's what I said just
I don't
before.
buy that.
Yeah,
Give him a
yeah,
season to
yeah.
set. You can't give every player a season to settle in. Look, Haaland didn't take a season to settle in. Do you know what I mean? Like Pau Torres didn't take a season to settle in. Emi Martinez didn't take a season to settle in to playing regularly in the Premier League. Like you know, I,
Well, it goes back to the expectations, doesn't it? It goes back to what do we expect from players who play for Aston Villa. If we're saying that, oh well, it's okay that Ollie Watkins, we're talking in a bit about him, can go on these 9, 10 game runs of not scoring, but because he runs around, that's fine. Then we're going to finish where we finish. But if we say that's not good enough and we expect better, then like hopefully that that kind of raises people's expectations, raises people's standards. It's Douglas Luiz went off the boil. He came back a little bit better on Saturday, but the players have shown how well they can play. Diaby has shown how well he can play, so it's obviously going to be disappointing when he isn't playing up to that level. He will be as disappointed as anybody else, of course, but that doesn't mean that we can't be disappointed and also hold him to those standards.
I think that's true. And like you talk about DRB needing to get used to the league or getting used to the system, whatever. When like his first few games in the Prem, he was tearing it up. He was brilliant. He was like causing havoc, and everyone was talking about DRB being signing of the season, sort of like 5, 6 games in. He looked brilliant. Like he wasn't behind the speed of the game. That's not what's changed for him. And I'm not saying write him off either. He probably will come good because he's a fantastic player. But I think we can look at Diaby and be like, it's disappointing that he's not. I think we're very quick to make excuses. I'm looking at the comments. I've literally see every excuse in this. Wingers are streaky. Players are like, maybe it's the price tag's gone to his head. Maybe he needs to get used to Emery. He needs to get, like any of them can be true, but we're so quick to find excuses. And I'm not saying we should batter him or give him, boo him or like give him. But I think as a fan base, if we're having a conversation about it, we can say Diaby's form has been really disappointing, and I wasn't expecting it.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I keep losing where I am in this on the thing, but like I'll just go through some comments because there's so many coming in. Charlie S says it's the perks of football. Sometimes you just never know when someone gets in form.
True.
Villamanius, Power played for Emery before using another player. Didn't? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Rachel said strikers and forward players are always looked at more if they don't get a goal and assist. Gary, maybe the transfer fee. Michael could be the environment.
Same.
Pau did get a hammering from some fans at the beginning. Um, Rub says Sam players are all different. Why it took you so long to recognise Watkins' qualities when it took most fans less time? We haven't got there yet.
Rob, we can have a conversation about it, mate. Don't you worry.
I think wingers are
coming up.
streaky anyway. PJJ said Diaby on the left and Bailey on the right, both firing would be a nightmare for any defence, but it would need a change of our midfield system.
Yeah, that's true.
CC says, I don't think it's a different standard. I think it is what it is, and he's playing out of position. Lack of confidence, a young player. Parry's more experienced and has played for Emery before. There's, like I say, I just think the players have shown the level of ability that they've got, and if they don't hit that level, I think they're fair game to be criticised. I don't know what else. I want Villa to finish in the Champions League spaces. I want Villa to win the Conference League. So if they're not performing and they're not, as they haven't, as I said, with all those games in my rant, there was 9 games that haven't performed. I don't care what anyone says. They haven't played well. They played pretty well on Saturday from what I saw. That's fine, but they need to continue with playing at that level or better for the rest of the season, like consistently, and then I'll be happy. Not that they'll care about what I think, but that's just that's just what I'll be. One player who should be a little bit more confident, and obviously got his first Premier League goal for Villa on Saturday night was Yuri Tielemans, and he can be a really important player for us because he does have that ability that he showed on Saturday to shoot from distance. That we've been crying out for a player to do that. And obviously scored a great goal on Saturday night.
Yeah, he had a good night, Tielemans. I mean, he nearly scored, didn't he? Just before he did, it was almost he whacked the shot, didn't he? Would it hit the bar the first one? It did, didn't it? And then it went out, and then he pretty much done the same again, and it went in. Sorry, headed off. Yeah, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, I think in general, Villa just had the freedom of Bramall Lane, didn't we? And players like Tielemans with a bit of space and a bit of time really do look the business, and took his goal really well, and a good performance.
He did, and I guess 4-0 up at half time, George. It's just that kind of dream situation for a manager in that you can make changes, you can relax a little bit. The game's won. Obviously, you always know the second half isn't going to be the same, but he was able to bring Ramsey on for Luiz at half time. We then scored another cracking goal with Alex Moreno. Great for him to get a goal. But after that, it was pretty much game over. There was like I said, we'll get into some individual performances in a second. But yeah, pretty much game over at 5-0. And it is a difficult situation for players coming onto the pitch. But what did you make of it after that 5-0 scoreline was set up so early?
Yeah, it was job done, lads. Put it simple as that, really, wasn't it? I mean, you just conserving energy, thinking, like Emery obviously made a few changes. We've got, the cup replay in the week, Man United the weekend. It's just we obviously took our foot off the gas a little bit. Saying that, there was still a couple of chances. We could have still scored a couple more. But yeah, Sheffield United had given up. We knew that the points were in the bag, and you just kind of you often see it, don't you? Teams blitz other teams in 20 minutes, half an hour, and the rest of the game ends up being a damp squib because it's job done. So yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say about that.
Yeah, no, I agree, mate. I agree. Luiz goes off half time. Ezri Konsa, I don't know if I hope it's an impact injury more than a ligament injury, but he went off. Leon Bailey done his job. 60 minutes. We've talked about Moussa Diaby. McGinn came off for 70 minutes, and then Tielemans came off for Morgan Rogers to get his debut. But Sam, I mean, do you read anything into or too much into the fact that 5 substitutions were made? I guess good to see Irig Bonham get minutes, good to see Rogers get minutes, but maybe Ramsey, Diaby, as we've spoke about, not necessarily having the impact that we want. Do you read anything too much into that?
I mean, I read into it what I feel I should. I mean, I think Ramsey again was pretty ineffective. I think you said it earlier. You were like, it's difficult for players to come on when you've got 5. And for me, it's like if I was Jacob Ramsey and I'm DRB and I'm coming on, we're battering this team 5-0, and I'm a bit out of form. I could do with a goal, and there's clearly a goal in this game. There's still plenty of time left to go. I'd be super keen to like get my name on that list and get back to form against a team that's clearly leaking goals today. Like I don't. I get it from like a management perspective to say, look, the game's over at 5-0, let's make some substitutions and whatever. But I don't get it from the player's perspective. Like if I was Ollie
You'd be
Watkins,
itching, wouldn't you? You'd be
you'd be
itching.
itching. You'd be like, people have been questioning me, whatever. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna rip these apart, and I'm gonna. But I think after that 60 minutes, after Bailey went off and like these subs were made and stuff, do you know who I was actually impressed with? You're gonna laugh at me as well. I really like Cameron Archie. He was like really putting himself about, and like he's in such a terrible side, and he just looks like such a bright spark. He looks so out of place playing in that team, Cameron Archer, and I really hope they get relegated, and I hope he has to come back, and then I hope we like put him into the fold because every single time I see him, he looks electric. Like
Sharp, innit?
touches, he put Diego Carlos on his ass, and he's got literally nothing. It's like it might as well have been Villa against Cameron Archer for that last 30 minutes. But yeah, I think I think it's. I was disappointed. Obviously, Diaby came on. He did have that shot actually. Yeah, that
He did. He did. That
he
that
cut the
was
ball back.
nice. Yeah.
That was a bit of the old Diaby. I like that.
Yeah.
It was a bit of his first touch kind of let him down, but he managed to bring it back and he went out and like curled the ball around. It was actually a good save. So I think that will have done the world of good. Just getting like a shot on target, just like doing so, making the keeper work and taking a player on, sitting someone down. But I think, what do you boys think about Jacob Ramsey? Because I've always said, look, I think he's obviously got all the talent in the world, and he's had times in a Villa shirt where he's looked like he can be the difference and he's going to be the next star boy. But I see people like there was rumors in January of him going for 50 million or something like that, and I saw people saying, "Oh no, if we got 100 for Jack, we need more for Ramsey." And I was like, "You've lost your mind. Like Jacob Ramsey right now isn't nearly the player that Jack was when we sold him, or like even in the Championship, the kind of impact that Jack Grealish was having consistently on games. Jacob Ramsey for me is just so inconsistent and like just so ineffective in games. Like you see him get the ball and little touches here and there, and I'm just like Ramsey, like do something. We always used to praise him and say like the benefit of Jacob Ramsey is that he drives into space, he gets you up the field. He's like
territory.
he's a running back. Do you know what I mean? Like he's
Yeah.
he'll run with the ball and he'll get you yards, and he's just not doing that. He's not seems to be doing anything, and I feel kind of bad for him because I don't. Maybe it was the injury. Maybe the injuries have like hampered him, but he just doesn't look like the old Jacob Ramsey, does he?
No,
I mean, let me just,
sorry, Joe. Just 2 seconds. I just wanted to because we've got comments about it. So before, just come on to your opinion, George. Just some comments, just to kind of, I guess, give you some clarity on it. So Ramsey, Cece said Ramsey was very defensive, and I thought poor. I don't remember him surging forwards. Gary says Ramsey needs to get better, otherwise he's transfer fodder. Adamski says JJ hasn't been carrying the ball aggressively forward like he usually does. Yeah, I mean, do you echo those thoughts? Weston saying he'd take 50, 60 million for Ramsey all day long. Lee says he has had a season blighted by injury, though, to be fair. Ugent saying the same thing. He had a great season last season. Are you of that opinion, George? Like he's just not quite got that consistency back, like whether it be injury or confidence or whatever?
Yeah, I just think the injuries have hindered him. I mean, every time he keeps getting little knocks here and there, doesn't he? I mean, he never really plays any more than about 3-4 games in a row. I like Ramsey. He's always been productive for us, assists, goals, like you say, charging into the box. But at the same time, I've never seen him dominate a game, dominate a midfield. He's a player that plays in moments. And, you won't see him for 20 minutes. All of a sudden, it could be Ramsey assist, Ramsey goal. Then you don't see him for another 20 minutes. He's like, I don't know who you can compare him to, really, but he's not like a complete midfielder by any means. And I just think at the moment, he's just having a bit of a lull where he can't stay fit. His confidence has probably dropped, like we were just saying about the RB, and he's just struggling to get going. But with regards to like selling him, I mean, he's not going to be worth what he was worth a year ago, is he? So I think you've got you stay with Ramsey. I mean, there's a good player there, and I think you get him back. He'll get back to his best eventually. I mean, luckily we've got a very good midfield these days, so it's not overly hurting us. But yeah, we all like to see him do a bit better.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. he was never really a player who would grab a game by the scruff of the neck, like you said, George. He'd maybe have two, three, four real kind of quality dribbles up the pitch, and then maybe create a goal or score a goal. I think his best game last season away at obviously the Newcastle game he was excellent at home, but I thought against Liverpool away I thought he was brilliant.
Yeah.
And he really played well against Trent, and he scored a cracking goal. But yeah, I mean it's a weird one with Jacob, but I also th- I also think we've had times this season where we've kind of had a strong-ish bench, but I want to see us having like like back Diaby, Ramsey, Zaniolo, um, Luca Dean or Moreno. Like I want to see us have that like stellar bench, because it's like, yeah, fair enough. We were able to make our changes the other day, but you almost want that competition on the bench as well as like the competition for the bench players coming onto the pitch. You want like 5, 6 top class players to potentially come on who are competing with each other to not only change the game but also to get into the first team. It's almost like, well, you've got JJ, you've got Zaniolo, you've got maybe one other, you got Diaby. Well, you kind of know that those three are going to come on. Like it's almost like that they're going to get used. So there's no like competition there of like actually being in the squad or actually getting on the pitch. So I want to
I
see
think
that as well.
competition in the squad, you're not going to get top players trying to get into the match day squad. If I'm being
No.
honest, I think I don't mind the fact that I quite obviously when fit. I think our bench is really really strong, and I think you've got the problem that we've got is we're really really packed in midfield when everyone's fit,
Mm.
and not necessarily like it's good that we got rid of Big Daddy Donk. Went to Napoli, and I really like Tim Bono coming through. Like I don't know what you boys thought about him, but I really like him. I really like watching him play. I like the way he moves. He had a
It's
couple of
calm
stray
with the ball.
passes.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you know this is everyone's going to take this out of context, but the way he moves, like those big long strides that he takes when he moves with the ball, it reminds me of Patrick Vieira. Like from the back, like just the way he physically moves. And I think he's a talent, man. Like I'd love to see him be the backup to Kamara. And again, everyone's under the cosh right now with FFP. Best case scenario for Villa is that we manage to develop what we've already got here, and your best chances aren't going to be like with like a Zaniolo or one of those types of players. Your best bet's going to be with the younger players. Like I would have said John Duran, but obviously, I don't know what his problem is. I've kind of like lost interest in him. I don't have the effort to keep up with his
Well, he
drama.
might be out for another 6 to
2 months,
8 weeks or something.
I
Yeah.
yeah,
saw that. Yeah.
yeah. I just feel like, and I think that's a concern. Morgan Rogers, obviously, he's a signing for Villa of that mold. Like let's develop someone, and because we need someone who could potentially be here for the next 4 or 5 years, and or someone who's going to come in and have a big transfer value that we can we can sell on. But for me, if I look at someone like Ramsey, I'm like, he's a good player, obviously. But if someone offered me 50 million for him in January, I'd take it. And the
Mm.
argument is, some people said, oh well, he could end up, to being a player who's like really really like exactly what we all think he might be. He has talent to be. And in my mind, I'm like, even if he does hit those levels, even if he is the kind of player I think he can be, I still don't think he's worth more than 50, 60 million. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you sell him for his potential now, or you sell him in 2, 3 years and he's either dropped right down and he's 15, 20 million, or he's playing at that level where he's 25, 26, but he's actually a 50 million pound player. Like it's I don't know, it's a bit of a weird one for me. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'd like to see him do well though. I would like Ramsey because he looked the absolute business last year for periods of time. But I'm with George. I don't think he's ever consistently like grabbed game after game by the neck and done something juicy. So who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, well, look, we hope he does. We hope he does come to fruition. We've got almost half a season to go and cup games and all that. So look, there's still plenty of time for him. We've got 92 watching and we've only got 32 likes, guys. So please do hit the like button. We know how much it helps us grow as a channel. And if you're new to the channel as well, do subscribe. If you're new, we are over 3,300 on the road to 4K. And your likes, your comments, your shares really do help us grow. So yeah, let's help get those likes up and smash that button. I don't want us to come across as negative here, because we've just won 5-0 yesterday,
Yeah,
and
that's a good
it
point,
does
mate.
seem like we're a little bit down. We are absolutely not down. So I do want to go on to real positives from yesterday and moving forwards as well, because I think again, courtesy of AVFC Stato, now we can take some of the stats that he does before the Newcastle game are like, oh, these are tempting fate, but these ones that I'm going to use now are great. But I think this is our 4th away clean sheet in a row or something like that, George, and it's really good to see defensive solidity. It's good to see that, you know, Martinez made a couple of big saves at the end. Obviously we got the VAR decision, but you know, starting from a good solid base, 4 away clean sheets does really bode well, obviously across all competitions, but that does really bode well for the season moving forwards, you know, having that good solid defence, whoever comes in.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, that was the like, you know, the other day when you were reeling off your 10 games where we've not really performed, and I kind of said back to you, didn't I? I said, but look, we've still got quite a few results out of all them games, and I think that's why. Because even though we had lost a bit of impetus in the attacking threat and we had stopped scoring goals like we were still getting 0-0s, weren't we? And just still keeping it tight at the back. And they say all good teams start with a solid base at the back. And yeah, you know, we haven't done too bad, have we? And as for Saturday, I mean, Sheffield United, well, let's face it, I thought they were absolutely terrible. And they, you know, they just let us do what we wanted, didn't we? I didn't think they were much of a threat, and I thought we could have had another 2-3 goals in that game pretty easily. So I don't really know where to base us off of this one, but obviously it's a great result all the same.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be more important the game on Wednesday against Chelsea, the game on Sunday against United, to see exactly where we are as a team. But it obviously helps 5 goals, 5 different scorers. And, you know, players like Luiz, Bailey doing their work and kind of being so clinical, as you said right at the start, Sam. Just a word on Douglas Luiz in terms of those passes. I mean, I know a lot of people have said if that was Kevin De Bruyne playing that outside of the foot pass, then match of the day would have been going on about it for ages. I mean, do you kind of buy into that? I mean, it was a wonderful pass and it shows Luiz's ability.
Yeah, it was brilliant, man. It was beautiful. I was told you earlier. I was playing football earlier today, and I'm a bit of a, because I'm fat. I don't really like running that much. I tend to sit in the middle, and I'd like to spray the ball and distribute the ball out. And I was trying to play the ball out to the wing, and I just completely miskicked it. And I actually ended up playing this amazing through ball, quite comparable to what Dougie did yesterday. And part of me was like, did he mean that? So I was like, I've just done it, but I had no intention to do it. But no, he was incredible. Like, he just exactly what you want from Douglas Luiz yesterday. You know, it was just such a beautiful ball, and he did it a couple of times. And I think that's that. You know, I don't mind playing the ball like forward over a distance when it's got such purpose. Like, I don't really like hoofing the ball into channels and stuff. Sometimes I don't mind it, but you know, I've never been a massive fan of it. I find it quite dull to watch. But you know, he's just shown the best of him in that game, in those 45 minutes that he played or whatever it was. Absolutely amazing pass. And to be fair, he did get a lot of credit for it. I saw Jamie Redknapp picking it up and saying, you know, if that was De Bruyne, and you know, I think the difference is obviously De Bruyne does one of them every 8-9 games. Like, you could have a highlight reel this season of ridiculous passes that De Bruyne does. And I think to get to that level where you're known as the wonder passer, someone who's got that in their locker as a specialist, I think it's something that you need to do quite often. And you know, I don't think with the ability he has, Douglas Luiz does it as often as maybe he can. But even in the last game, I can't remember what it was, maybe it was against Newcastle, he played that ball in for Kamara, didn't he? Just that little
Yes.
lofted,
Oh, that was
curled ball
brilliant.
over the
Yeah.
top, and it's beautiful. And
Yeah.
he's got so much talent, you know. And I'd like to see him given that license to just, you know, try a pass, you know, if that's what your creative juices are saying, and do it. But absolutely brilliant. Like, it's lovely to watch them, but it's even better to watch a Villa player do it.
Yeah, 100%. Luiz says Dougie's pass yesterday reminded me of Paul Merson quality outside of the boot passes. Yeah, I think that sums it up pretty well. Now, one other player who probably does cause a lot of questions is a certain Mr. Ollie Watkins. Obviously, he is back in goal scoring form with 2 goals in the last 2 games.
I'm out.
I obviously ranted a little bit on Wednesday about him kind of shouting at the fans to get them going, and I was like, well, you need to actually control the ball and be able to pass it to a Villa player before you start giving it. But that being said, he then went on to score. He scored yesterday, had a really good game. And as Stephen said, he's the first player in Europe, top 5 divisions, to get 10 assists and 10 goals this season. Now, I think that's a pretty decent achievement. Like, whatever, it's fine. That's what he's there to do. That's what he's paid to do. He's paid to score goals. He's paid very, very handsomely to score goals. And he's still not finished the season yet. If he kind of continues on this vein of form and gets 20 plus and then fires us into the Champions League, that's 2 or 3 real quality consistent seasons with Villa. Absolutely brilliant. But at the moment, I just think sometimes, and I don't know if you boys agree or disagree, like, it's nice putting these stats out there, brilliant, but I just think sometimes we band around these statistics like they're like amazing achievements. Like, fair play, he's got double figures goals and assists. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, I don't know. Is it amazing? Is it an amazing feat, Sam, George? Like, what?
Well, I'll tell you what. All I'll say on it quickly is that when Watkins isn't playing well, we've soon got all them stats and assists for the players that are apparently better. I mean, I remember there was a lot of talk: Callum Wilson this, Callum Wilson that. He scored this, he scored that. So it's all right to do the assists. It's all right to do the stats about them. But when it's the player in our team who we want to beat up all the time, the stats don't seem to matter. I don't get it.
Yeah, fair play. I mean, Callum Wilson, good player. Like, I don't know about the assist thing. Like, the assist thing. I don't get it. I don't get it. Like,
Used to be
I
judged
said to
more
you,
on goals, didn't it? But yeah, they sort of come as a pair now, don't they?
yeah, I just, like, fair enough. He passed the ball. Like, if I'm talking about the assist for Alex Moreno, yeah, nice, good vision, chips it over, lovely volley. The pass to, like, Leon Bailey, he just passed it to him. Like, I don't understand how that is us saying, like, that's wonderful play from Ollie Watkins, and like now he's gonna be he's the first player in the top 5 European divisions. That being said, 11 goals this season so far is fantastic. Well, not fantastic. It's a good return so far, and he needs to keep it going. And yes, he is playing well, and he's back hopefully in this goal scoring vein of form. I just don't want to get too excited about a consolation goal against Newcastle and a goal against Sheffield United. I want to see him next week against Man United really run them ragged. I want to see him against Liverpool at home later on in the season really give it some. Like, that's what I want to see. Like, that's where I want Ollie Watkins to really show us his ability. Sam, I don't know what your thoughts are.
Nothing from me. No comment. I'm really tempted to leave it at no comment. Look, Ollie Watkins has done what Ollie Watkins does this season, but a lesser degree and a higher degree. So, in terms of his goal scoring and his assists, his assist numbers, I'm with you, Rich. I mean, if you pull up a compilation of all of Ollie Watkins' assists this season, there's been several where he's literally just passed the ball to someone like on the edge of the box and someone's done something ridiculous. Like, it's not like an assist in the traditional idea of he's made that goal. I think that's what an assist is supposed to be, is he made that goal. So I'm not super concerned about the assists, and I'm not also I'm also not massively concerned about the numbers in terms of goals and assists, because say Salah, for example, who's been out for a month with AFCON, he's got 14 goals and 8 assists. So he's got more goals and assists combined than Ollie Watkins. So, if you want to pick at hairs and pick at little numbers, and you can do that. That being said, Ollie Watkins has his numbers for February, for the for the 4th of February right now, are good. They're good. They're where you would want them to be. Like, the assists are an anomaly for him. The most assists he's ever had in a season is like 6. So it's not like this is what Ollie Watkins does. He makes goals and he scores goals and he's this all-round package. Like these assist numbers are an anomaly for Ollie Watkins, but they're a welcome anomaly that you'll take all day, every day. The goals, I'm with you. I think, like, if you talk about the bigger games, I don't think he's got. I don't think he's like made a massive
He
impact in the
scored. He
big.
scored. I think the winner against Spurs, brilliant.
Yeah,
The
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 winner
goal
against
to
Spurs
get
is
us
massive.
back
Yeah,
in against Bournemouth, fantastic. And I'm not criticising him in any way. I think he's a really important player for us, and I think he's playing really, really well. My thing is that with the social media and all that, and kind of the PR that clubs put out, is what we do is we overinflate players' performances and players' kind of output as being like phenomenal when it's just what he should be doing.
but
That's my argument.
I think that, I mean, that's part of it for the club. They want him. They want to big him up for 2 reasons. One's that he's got this big self confidence, and secondly, just keeps his value high. Do you know what I mean?
Mm,
Everyone's talking about Ollie Watkins and the first player in Europe's top 5 leagues to get 10 goals and 10 assists, and it's fair play. And I said to you earlier, like, if we make the Champions League this year, Ollie Watkins will have 1,000,000% played his part, and
yeah,
he
look at what
deserves
he's
it,
doing.
and he deserves all the credit in the world. I think, I mean, he's just come off the back of a 6-game drought with no goals and no assists. And my concern with Ollie Watkins has always been the same. It's not that he never performs in any game. My question has always been about consistency. So when I say he's doing it to a lesser degree now, he still had his little patch of, poor form, but it only lasted 6 games. And granted, and it's also probably more telling that those were the 6 games that we struggled in quite a lot. So, yeah, I mean, look, you've got to give Ollie Watkins credit. I think shushing the fans was a dumb move. I don't think he had been playing well enough since. I think, like you say, since that game against maybe Bournemouth, was it? So obviously then we had Arsenal and City,
Yeah,
but bar the City game where we were phenomenal, Arsenal we kind of hung on. I think he's been pretty poor since then, goals or no goals. I don't think anyone has been playing particularly well, but I don't think Ollie
no,
Watkins has. So I think he's had a period of time where he's been quite anonymous in games. But at the end of the day, I mean, look, yesterday he had a fantastic performance. He definitely got an assist for Moreno. It was really well picked out, and he made himself available for Bailey to do a little back flick and gave him an option. He found him with a lovely weighted, like, the way that he passed the ball gave Moreno so much time to like shape his body and like just get clean contact on it, not worry about anything else apart from hitting it. So, um, I think Ollie Watkins definitely has played his part. He looks good at holding the ball up. Ollie Watkins needs to play well when everyone else is playing well.
hmm
Do you know what I mean? Like, he's another player who I don't see grabbing a game by the scruff of the neck. He doesn't change games in the sense that he's like, we're playing badly, he's going to pick us off the ground. When we're playing well, he plays well, and maybe that's because he's a bit isolated. Maybe it's because he's no longer looking for the ball, seeing as much of the ball. But I think all in all, I'm happy with Ollie Watkins right now. You can't not be. But I think it's too early in the season to go off and say Ollie Watkins has had a successful season. Ollie Watkins will have had a successful season if we get into Champions League, you know. And
yeah,
I don't care about any individual in this team, in terms of, like, if we finish sixth but Ollie Watkins finishes on 20 goals, I'm not going to be like, you know, well, that's it. That's enough for the season for me. If I'm being honest, I couldn't care if every single player in the squad got 5 goals and we finished fourth. I want everyone to I want to win games, and I want to see people make an impact. I want to see people breaking their back for it. And again, I think Ollie Watkins is just so much more dangerous when Leon Bailey's on the pitch, and I don't think it could be understated just what Leon Bailey does for Watkins. So yeah, I'm always one to give credit where it's due. Ollie Watkins has had periods of time in this season where he's looked like an absolute killer, just like so on it, so up for it, like a leading striker, like one of the best strikers in the Premier League, and that's saying something. But I think there's also been quite Ollie Watkins mannerisms where he has gone quite quiet for periods of time in the season. But, at the end of the day, like we said, we just beat Sheffield United 5-0. We're fourth in the league, we're 2 points clear of Spurs. We're joint on points with City and we're 5 points off top of the league. Like, I'm not here to start complaining, but if Ollie Watkins wants that credit and he wants that sense of accomplishment, then he's going to need to keep it up until the end of the season. If he finishes on 15 goals, fine. I still don't think he'll hit 20, by the way. And I remember telling people at the start of the season to put a bet on it, put their money where their mouth is. If they all thought Ollie Watkins was who they think they was, and he's going to get 20 goals and put money on it. I don't think he will get 20 goals in the league, but I don't care about that. He's playing his part. I want him to show up more when we're not playing well. I want him to take games by the scruff of the neck. But all in all, can't be mad at him right now. It's not, you can't ask him for much more than what he's doing.
Yeah, look, Rub's saying now we're hunting for reasons to downplay Watkins. No one is hunting for any reasons to downplay Watkins at all. Like, I'm just asking questions. What was really good to see, George, was how he was running into, like, away from defenders, like on the angle. So he was making the run to make the room for both the one that he hit the post with, and then the other side for moving away from the defender to then create the space for Luiz to play the pass on his actual goal. And that's really good to see in terms of those kind of threatening runs that we love to see from Ollie Watkins, that maybe we weren't seeing in the earlier games. And look, granted, it's sometimes difficult to play against a low block, and again, you said it before in terms of we kind of make these excuses for the team, and we make these excuses for players. Oh, well, it's against a low block, it's difficult for them. Like, this is where, like, if you're a top quality player, you have to, like you've just said, grab the game by the scruff of the neck, do something a little bit different, take responsibility for on the ball. This is what makes you a top player. This is what makes you into a Champions League quality player, and this is where the players will want to be. But as I said, it was really good to see him making those runs, peeling off the shoulder of the defender to make the space for the pass, which then is just, it's telling Luiz, this is where I want you to play the pass. It's up to you to get this pass right. And obviously Luiz did on 2 occasions, and that was brilliant to see Ollie Watkins do that.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I just find if we, like, the whole Emery plan, isn't it, is always to try and score the first goal, try and make a fast start. And once we do always get a goal ahead, that's where you see players starting to sort of take a few more chances and sort of, do some things a bit more like out of the ordinary. They take a few more chances. And obviously we got that early goal again yesterday, and and Watkins just had an absolute field day, didn't he? He was all over the place. Sort of Sheffield United didn't know what to do with him.
Exactly, and like I say, that's what you really want to see, and it was great to see that type of confidence, that type of, I guess, effervescence in his play. And I'm absolutely not criticising Ollie Watkins as a player. Like, we know what he does, we know what he brings. We want that more consistently. If we want to finish in the Champions League positions, then he will have to do that more consistently. Us as football supporters need to see that more consistent. We need to hold the players to a higher level of expectation. We can't just keep making excuses for them, saying it's difficult to play against a low block, or Ollie Watkins works so hard, he runs the channel so well. Like, no, you need to, we need you to do exactly what you should be doing, which is what you did on Saturday. That's brilliant. Now do that against Chelsea. Now do that against Man United. Fantastic stuff. Same with Leon Bailey. Same with Moussa Diaby. Like, that's what we need from you guys, because you're such good players that's what you should be doing every week. Just in general, obviously brilliant win, 5-0. Great to see different players scoring goals. How do you think the players take this into this week, which is quite an important week? Obviously replay against Chelsea. They've not had a good result today against Wolves. Things don't seem rosy in their garden. Then obviously the big one against Man United on Sunday. How do you think that game, that 5-0 victory, albeit against Sheffield United, takes them into the rest of this week, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, it can only be a positive, isn't it? Like, you come off the back of a bit of a dip in form, and you manage to not just win a game, but you managed to win it so convincingly, and so many individual players had had really good performances. Like Dougie had a star 45 minutes, and um uh and sorry, I got confused. I got distracted by the comment. Um, Bailey had a brilliant game. Watkins, I even think Kamara was really good, so on and so forth. So yeah, loads of individual players will have picked up confidence. I think Chelsea's actually gonna be quite a hard game. I think they know the league is done for them. I don't think they're going to hit the European places. So this cup is something that they're really, really going to go for, because it's a route back into Europe, and it might not be enough for Chelsea to get into the Conference League or whatever as a club, but I think they'll want Pochettino will want some trophy or some semblance of success out of this season. So I wouldn't expect the same Chelsea that are playing in the league to turn up against us. And they didn't actually at Stamford Bridge. Like, obviously, George and I were there. We were pretty pissed, and it was a pretty boring game. But I think Chelsea definitely looked better than us for most of the game. So don't discount them. They've got good players. And Man United's a toss up, man. Like, I hate Man United because I'm always convinced that we're a better team than they are, and then they just find a way to beat us, like 2-0 up, and then that little rat comes on with his stupid little face and teeth, and then Garnacho turns into like prime Ronaldinho, and it's just, they're so irritating. Man United, you can never. I always expect to lose against Man United. That's my baseline. I've been a Villa fan too long. I'm too long in the tooth to assume that just because we're higher than them in the league and we're clearly in better form or whatever, that we'll beat them. They're our bogey team. But yeah, I don't know. I think you can only take positives from this, despite how negative we're being on the pod. Actually, I say we, bar George, who's just sitting there like shaking
No,
his head every
no,
time we
no, no.
talk.
It's
I,
all
I,
good, man. It's all
I
good.
think
It's
it's
all good.
no, I think it's brilliant. It's such a great result, and apparently what I said about Watkins hasn't gone down very well. But I don't feel like I thought I said that he was doing all right, and you couldn't ask for any
I
more
think
from
it
him
might be
right now.
me. I think it might be me.
No, it's
Yeah.
not. Everyone's saying, "Oh, because I said I don't think he's going to get 20 goals in the league this season." But I said you can't ask for much more from him. I just want him to like pick himself up in the big games, and maybe be the impetus when we're not playing very well, like a bit earlier on in the day. I don't know. Maybe I think the same way that people think I've got a thing against Ollie Watkins. As soon as I talk about Watkins, people just assume that I'm like bringing him down or giving him grief. I'm absolutely not. I say well done to him, but that's where we are anyway.
Exactly. It's all good, man. It's all good. Nick says there's going to be one loss and disappointment in the next two matches. Not sure which one, FA Cup or Prem. George, what are your thoughts on this week? A potential big week for Villa. Well, every week's big, but a real potential big week, because it could be a game against Plymouth, a home game against Plymouth or Leeds in the next round of the FA Cup, and then obviously the United game. They win, they go 5 points behind us. We win, we go 11 points ahead of them. What are your feelings going into this week?
It's a big week for sure. I'm pretty excited about it, to be fair. I mean, the cup game, like Sam said, we were there at Chelsea the other day. Chelsea, to me, looked like they were starting to find a bit of rhythm, find their feet. Next thing you know, they shit 8 goals in 2 games, and you're like, God, maybe maybe they're not so good after all. So on the basis
Maybe
of
we
them
were
two,
just not very good either, George.
yeah, that's it, mate. Yeah, yeah. But on the basis of that, you've got to say the old classic Villa Park pod saying they're there for the taking, right? It's a game that we've been very good at home, and I think it's a game we can go and win that. And then on to the weekend, it's as Sam said again, it's Man United, isn't it? And I'm always a bit uncomfortable, right? Because year on year on this pod, I'm just as bad as you boys. We take great pleasure in like watching them struggle, and sort of we disrespect them quite a lot. But the truth is, lads, I think in any of our supporting Villa times, none of us have ever seen us once finish above Man United. And I sort of think, leave the disrespect of Man United to teams that are better than them, because we still haven't quite hit that, and we haven't got the right yet. And
I don't think we ever will, George.
no,
In terms of the club, like size of the club. But yeah, do you know, it's weird you said that actually, because we're talking about Chelsea losing, 4-0. Look at Newcastle now, like conceding 4 against Luton and,
yeah,
struggling, and they absolutely battered us. Like,
so they
I
always
don't,
turn up for us, right?
yeah, they turn up for us, but also we kind of, it's not all their own doing. I felt like that loss against
It's
Newcastle was a lot of
it's
us our
that
own doing.
type of team that always does us. That
what
type
what
of
type
team,
of team is it?
physicality, pressure, pressing, and then for whatever reason we just can't seem to, whether that's the coaching, like just to play that way that Emery wants us to play, and we can't kind of get out of that mode. But it seems to be like that pressure in midfield, because I was actually surprised at how kind of, I know he's quite rangy, but how big Louis Miley is. Like, he's tall, he's rangy, the same as like Longstaff, and they just really pressed and put the pressure on Louise and Kamara. We just couldn't get out. And then you talk about the
Squeezed us.
pace of Gordon and Isak. I know Isak went off, but Brial Miron, on who's got pace. And that we struggle against that. We the same against Bournemouth. Obviously, we managed to get 2-2. Forest, pacey, physical. Like, we always struggle with that type of team, and the same with Man United. Put
This
it
is
on
what
us,
we've got, and this
press,
is what we've got with
pressure,
United, mate.
pressure,
Yeah.
pressure,
But I
and
think we,
and that
I
and
think
that's
we
where we
played it
struggle.
wrong. If I'm being honest, Rich, I watched the highlights of that Newcastle Luton game yesterday, and the only like way I can describe it is Dan Burn got violated by
Yeah,
that Ogbene.
yeah,
Like, I felt
mate,
bad for
I
him. I thought he
agree.
must have a family. He must, do you know what I mean? Like, I felt bad for Dan Burn. I was like, this is embarrassing. He's been put on his ass, so many times. And I just thought, what did we do against Dan Burn? Did we give it to a really skillful pacey winger and tell him to take him on and lose him for pace because he's 6'9"?
We did on
What did we do?
70 minutes when we were
70
3
minutes,
0
yeah.
down.
We started
Yeah,
crossing the ball over to Matty Cash, who's 5'0" against us, BFG and Dan Burn, and we played it wrong. We played it wrong against Newcastle. We played this ridiculous high line. No, I don't mind the high line. Like, that's Unai Emery's ball, and I love it actually. The problem is with the high line against Newcastle is we weren't in a line. We were like darted. It wasn't a straight. You remember that picture from earlier on in the season, where everyone was synchronized and going backwards, and it just looked like a work of art. We definitely didn't do that against Newcastle. And as good as Newcastle can be, and as much as they play in a way that we find difficult, because Anthony Gordon always looks like, you know, he looked absolutely brilliant against us. But he normally looks like Claire
it
Baldwin, but
comes down
against us, he
it
looks
comes down
brilliant.
to midfield. It comes down to Douglas Luiz and Kamara don't like it when they're up against real physicality in
Yeah,
central
that's right.
I
midfield.
just, me
It comes
personally,
down to that.
I don't think it. I mean, Bruno Guimaraes isn't a big guy, and he ran us ragged. I think we played it wrong. I don't, because the thing is, you
Well,
can give yourself,
it
you
happens
give
against
yourself,
every single team that are physical against us.
you
Every
give
single
yourself an
team.
out. You give yourself an out for every time you play Newcastle. Then if you just say, look, they've got a big, we've got,
But look, when we played them at home, we played them at their own game, and we got into them. We got stuck into them quickly, and that's how we beat them last season at home. Like, that's how we.
yeah, but the players
That's
weren't
how we
any
did.
smaller then. We just played a different type of game. Do you know what I mean?
Intensity, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
the thing is not about the size of the players. It's about the way you play it and the game plan that you have against them. Like, when we battered them 3-0 at Villa Park last year, it wasn't because,
Yeah, well,
you know,
look,
Well, we were just brilliant on
I'm
that day,
telling you
weren't we?
now. Rachel said, "How a Newcastle's type of football is our kryptonite, similar with Liverpool." It's just we're great. We can beat some of those teams, of course we can, but that is just the area where Villa will have struggled and will continue to struggle until we crack that little code.
Rich,
That's
you
my
just
that's
want
my
you.
worry with United at the weekend because of like you're talking about Anthony Gordon there. You got Garnacho, which is pretty much exactly the same player for me. Exactly the same problem. The ball over the top, the ball down the sides. You've got Hoyland now, who's found his shooting boots. I think
Yeah,
that's
we
going to be
found them at Villa, didn't he?
Yeah, of course he did, mate.
West Ham,
I think
West
that's a
Ham
tough
used to
game.
do it against us. West Ham used to do it against us, and we've kind of like we kind of got around them the last couple of games, but it's still an area where we do have a little weakness.
With all
It
due
is.
respect, though, Rich, you want like 11 Anthony Joshua's on the pitch. That's what you
No,
want.
I
You want
don't. I
11
just
6'6"
I
brick
no,
houses
I
in
agree with
all.
you. Sometimes it's not the player. It's not getting another big player in. It's those two
Standing
players
up, standing up.
Do you
particularly
remember?
Louise and Kamara. It's standing up to the physicality of that particular game, like just standing up to it. Like, I totally agree with you. They did it against Newcastle last season. They've done it against, say, a West Ham, but that is an area where those two players in particular do struggle at times. And like, say, George is right to be slightly concerned about it. If they can stand up to it on Sunday, then I think we'll be absolutely fine, because then their quality will come through.
See, I think this is where, assuming that we play Ezri Konsa at right back, I think this is where we have a problem, because Garnacho, like Ezri Konsa's not a player who like gets dribble past very often, but you can play through the lines and find a quick player behind him, and he does tend to sort of like, he's neither coming nor going at right back because he doesn't want to stay back. But he's not like Matty Cash, he's going to get forward, but also he doesn't sit as deep as the centre backs. I think it's going to be Garnacho is a problem. If I was, and this is a horrible thing to say, but if I was a Villa player, I would just absolutely crunch him in the first few minutes, and I would literally, I wouldn't try to injure him, but I'd try to hurt him. Like do you know what I mean?
Let him know you're there, Sam.
Let him know you're there.
Let him know you're there, but also like don't give him a chance to try and respond to it.
What's his name? Casemiro does that every game.
Yeah.
Inside the first 3 minutes.
I always remember when we were like in the bin with Gerard and we were on the pod and you were just screaming like, just go. I don't care who he is. Find someone over 6'5", 6'4", put him in the team. And we went and signed Dendoncker. And it just didn't work out how you thought.
I swear they must have had a spy on Gerard. Must have had a spy on our podcast, because every time I'd say something,
I don't think we helped him very much.
No, I know we didn't.
I think Unai's doing so well because he steers well clear.
Yeah, he just stays well clear.
Otherwise, he'd have Cameron Archer up front. He'd have no one playing right back. You know, oh man.
Yeah, he'd drop Ollie Watkins. Like, forget those goals and assists.
He would have sold Bailey last
mean
year.
Anything.
Bailey would have already been in the bin. I think you know when we did the keep loan and sell at the start of the season, I think we only had like 4 players left in the team. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
No,
well,
it's all good. But
it's
yeah,
going to be a difficult run in. Here's a question for you both. If you had to give one up, which one would you give up? If you had to lose one of the games next week, United.
I was going to ask that to George, but I don't think I could bring myself to ask it.
Go on, I'm asking. I've saved your job there. Go on, George, you start.
Oh, it's a hard one, Sam, but I think it's got to be the cup, isn't it? Because I think if we lose to United, there's a good chance that we're gonna, if we go on another little bad run, then within 3 weeks they're above us, aren't they? And the Champions League is the big apple here that we really need. We're still in the Conference League, aren't we? I want to do well in the FA Cup, but if I only had one choice, I think I would say that.
I'm going to ask you a follow-up question, but first, Rich, couple league. Which one are you losing next week if you have to lose?
I'd lose the FA Cup, mate. Definitely. I think we're going to go for the Conference League, and I think while we're in the shout with Champions League, the results went for us a little bit this weekend as well. Obviously, Tottenham getting the late draw that pegged them back against Everton. I think we've got a real shot now. So, yeah, It's got to be give up the FA Cup.
Second question now. Let's put all this. I'm putting the title talk to bed, ladies and gentlemen. We're not going to win the title. So let's move on. Do you think, is it your expectation? Do you think we will get top 4? And let's assume that only the top 4 places of the Champions League this year. Do you think we are going to get top 4?
There's a 77% chance, apparently, that the top 5 will get it, Sam.
Let's assume that the 23% chance kicks us in the arse. Let's just assume it's top 4. Do you think we get top 4 this year?
Yes.
You think we are, like, current form, everything that's going?
Yeah.
The former Spurs, the former Man United.
Yeah, I think we get it, yeah.
Richarlison turning into Prime R9.
Yeah, but the Tottenham is still Tottenham. They're still Spursy.
But being Spursy hasn't kept them out of the Champions League for the last 15 years, has it, really?
Exactly. It's a good point, Sam. It's another team we like to disrespect, saying they're Spursy, but they've still been better than us.
Oh, yeah, they've
been in the Champions League final whilst we were in the Championship, mate. Like, I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah, that's true. What I mean by that is, we haven't been in this position to say like whether we bottle it or not. So that's probably one thing to say, whether that's an advantage or a disadvantage. But yeah, I just think Tottenham have that type of result in them, like they had against Everton,
and we don't
too often. Of course, we'll probably have 3 or 4 results in us. But I'm just clinging on to that hope. You asked me the question.
You think we will?
You asked me the question.
No, I'm pressing you on it.
Champions League. Yeah.
Go on then, George. Do we finish top 4 this year? Go on, George. Spurs, Man United.
No.
You don't think
No, and that's no disrespect to us. We've got a good side. We've done amazing this season, but I think they've got a little bit more in the locker squad-wise, especially now they're coming back.
If we don't do it, I'll be disappointed now.
Yeah, of course, mate. I hope we do it, but I think they might have a little bit more. But if fifth gets in, then happy days. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that
Think of
means we've got to finish above Man United. But
well, there's
I'll,
more chance of that than
yeah,
Spurs.
I'll give my 2 cents on it. I think a lot depends on whether we beat Man United at the weekend, actually, which is why firstly I would get rid of the FA Cup. I couldn't care less. Obviously, I'd love to do it. I'd love to progress. I'd actually really like a tie with Leeds. I think that would
Yeah,
be
I think I
brilliant. Like,
said
That'd be a
that as
great
well.
game.
6,000
yeah,
Leeds fans down on that. That'd be
yeah,
amazing.
I'd be brilliant. Do you know what? I really miss like our championship
They were
rivalry with
all
Leeds.
great games against
The El
Leeds.
Ghazi, Bamford, like all of that was brilliant.
That'd be a little throwback to. Do you remember the 2000 the quarter final when Carboni scored the hat trick?
Yeah, Benito Carboni. Yeah,
Yeah, he
no,
scored some great goals in that game.
I would love to progress in the FA Cup, but if I had to pick one, then the FA Cup is no question. 3 points in the league is more valuable. But I'm pretty sure Martin O'Neill said that at one point as well. Look how that worked out for him.
Hmm.
But do I think I'm going to finish in the top four? I don't see us. We've still got a game against Spurs as well.
That's a big one.
At
I
Villa
think
Park.
it's at Villa Park. That one's just there's so many massive games coming up. Um, I think we might finish fifth, and I hope fifth is enough because I see us finishing above United because they're so inconsistent. And they've got problems off the pitch as well. Sancho, Rashford, you know, I don't know. They seem to have, like Harry Maguire coming in for Varane. Like no one seems to know what's going on, and I think I don't rate Ten Hag very much. So I think we'll finish above United, but I don't think we get fourth this year. I'm like
We've
Luiz,
had a
I'm
little
with you, boy.
dip, boys, and we're still there, aren't we?
Hmm.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
how many dips are
we're
we going
level
to
on
have?
points with City. I mean, they've got 2 games on us, but we're only 3 points behind Arsenal and 5 points behind City, Liverpool at the top of the table. I think it's been a year that's quite strange because like Liverpool have lost Salah to the AFCON and Spurs have lost Son to X, Y, and Z. And I know it doesn't really make a big difference for City because they never seem to play, but I think Arsenal have taken advantage of that. I think we have as well because we only lost Bertrand Traore. So um, yeah, I don't know. Do you know what it is with Villa? I don't think it's because we lack quality. I think it's just that's just. I think this is like really challenging for the top four. Is just like
It's the
it's just so
relentlessness of it,
different.
isn't it?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
Yeah,
can't
we haven't
like.
got the know-how. We haven't done it before, have we?
It's not even that. I
But
think
that could be a good thing, George.
even as a
Maybe.
fan base, like to finish in the top four, you're gonna need to win almost every week. Like that's the reality of it now. And when you say that, like Villa fans are like, "What do you want us to do? Like win every game?" And it's like, well, yeah, like
Well, this,
thereabouts.
this
Like
is what this is
that's
what
what
I'm.
you
This
need.
is yeah. This
That's
is
what
what
you.
I'm talking about. Where we we have to increase our expectation on the players and on the
Yeah.
players. We have to if we want to finish in the top four. You can't be accepting like mediocrity. You have to be going for it. You have to like it. That's just the way it is. So
Thing is,
us
though,
as
boys, you
supporters,
say this, but the trajectory isn't always like that. I mean, Spurs lost 5 games in a row, and they're just behind us.
Yeah, but
Imagine if we lost
they'll
5 games in a row now, we'd be
y-
losing our shit.
yeah, but mate, if you think about it, like they've like won pretty much the same number of games that we have. So we've won
Yeah,
14, they've won 13. Fine, they lost. I mean, they've only lost 5 games all season. So if they lost 5 in a row, then they got it all out, and they've had nothing but draws or wins since. And what I'm trying
that's
to say,
weird, isn't it? That's a weird old
yeah, yeah, but it's
bit of
for
form.
me. I think it's a bit of a paradox because you've got fans saying, "Oh, you can't expect us to like Kev, for example. Oh, you can't expect us to win every game. Like, what we gonna win more games than like sort of 9 out of 10 games?" And the answer is like, well, you need to win. You need to be winning sort of like 7 out of every 10 games to
Mhm.
get into the Champions League in the first place. So you can't say it's unrealistic, but then at the same time say, "Oh, I think we're going to finish top fourth." You have to pick one,
You are,
and
yeah, exactly. If
Yeah,
you're
that's
going to
fair.
finish in the top four, you have to. We have to replicate the 40. We have to replicate or get extremely close to replicating the 42 points that we got in the first half of the season. So it's whether you think we're going to do that, and that's the thing. Now, would Pau Torres coming back in help us to do that? Obviously, yes. Would an Emi Buendia who can come back and maybe um, hopefully hit the ground running with say 7 or 8 games to go, that would help. Would a Jacob Ramsey getting back to form? Would a Musa Diaby getting back to form? Absolutely. Of course they will help us. And yes, Tottenham can say, well, maybe they've got Madison and players like that, but like you said, George, we've stuck in there with the fact that Diaby's not been playing brilliant, with the fact that Ramsey's not been as effective as he has been last season, with Pau Torres being out. So with Emi Buendia being out for the whole season. So with those 4 players that could, come back to form or fitness, you've got to say, like, we have got an opportunity to do it, and us as supporters have to really, like I say, hold the players to account to go after it. They'll want to do it. So why can't we dream about, and why can't we hold them to those expectations? Like, it's got to be done. It's got to be done, and I'm all for it.
I think George said
I hear
earlier.
you. You're sorry, go on, Sam.
Sorry, Matt. No, you could probably respond to this as well. I just said, like George said earlier, we've had a fantastic season. A season's only halfway through. What fantastic season have we had? It's not done yet. Like we keep talking about this, about the league, like the season, like we've done it.
It's because of what happened at the back end of last season is why we're doing that, because it feels like a season, doesn't it, of good form, even though it's half of like back end of one season and half of the next.
Yeah. And I don't disagree with that. Yeah, do you know what? Go on then, Nick. I feel like we're gonna have to, as a fan base, we have to make up our mind. We either think we're gonna get top 4 and that Ollie's gonna get 20 goals and everything's gonna be hunky dory and Diaby's gonna come into his form and that, but all of those things need to click. Like last season, for 4th, Newcastle finished on 71 points. I feel because of the impetus from Arsenal, Liverpool, and Man City, and Spurs not losing many games either, I think that number, let's assume that is the number, but that number might not be enough. We're currently sat on, was it 46 points now?
46.
46. So we need
46.
what is it? 520. We need 25 points to reach the total for 4th last season from was it 15 games left now. So that's quite a few
That's
wins.
doable.
That's
It's
doable.
doable.
But this is the thing, it is doable, but it's about not being Spursy, like you said, Rich, not bottling it. I think you need to say, look, 25 points would have got you 4th last season. That figure might not be enough, but can we get 25 points from 15 games? Yeah, I think we can. I really think we can. What is that, like 8 wins and a couple of draws or something like that? Like, I don't know. It's a tough one.
Yeah. It's going to be brilliant, boys. I could speak all night, and we've got over 100 people watching still
Wow.
at 11 o'clock. It shows you great conversation. And look, I know we've tinged it with a little bit of, I guess, tempered today with a little bit of, I guess, realism. And there's probably been things that I've wanted to get off my chest. I've been away for a few days. I've had my rant on Wednesday. It was brilliant to get the result on yesterday, and to win 5-0 against Sheffield United. As I said, doesn't matter what team it's against, it's fantastic. But I just want us to really push the players as supporters. I want us to really go for it, because we've got a great opportunity. We've got a really good team, and yeah, the that's what we've got to expect. And like you said, Sam, we've got to pick what we want. Do we want to go for? Do we think we can go for 4th and get it? In which case, we've got to go off. We've got to go off and do it and hold the players to those standards. Or if we say, oh well, we can finish top 6, then we're going to have inconsistencies. We're going to potentially drop off. So yeah, we've got to choose our poison. But phenomenal conversation, boys. Thank you so much for jumping on tonight. Loads of shows planned for this week. Obviously, talking tactics with Gareth. We're going to do a bit of a bumper one, because we didn't do that after the Newcastle game. So we're going to maybe do a bit of a compare and contrast. So do look out for that one. We're going to do, obviously, match preview for Chelsea, match reaction for Chelsea, match preview for Man United. Hopefully, maybe some lunchtime lives as well in there. So do stick with the channel, and we'll keep you posted on when those shows will be. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Do help us on the road to 4,000 subscribers. Thank you all for watching. Boys, like I say, thank you once again for jumping on the pod. Great conversation tonight. Wonderful win against Sheffield United. All is rosy in the garden at Aston Villa again. Another big week ahead. So, as always, remember, we all follow the Villa. Thanks, everyone.